The email pinged at 2 a.m., shattering the silence of my tiny Brooklyn apartment. Meeting at my place tomorrow, 6 p.m. sharp. Don't be late, Ethan. My boss, Nathan Caldwell, wasn't one for pleasantries, but the address attached, a sprawling estate in the Hamptons, felt like a punch to the gut. I'd spent 3 years at Caldwell & Sons, grinding through late nights and impossible deadlines, all to catch a glimpse of Nathan's approval. The man was a legend in advertising, sharp, charismatic, and untouchable, with steel blue eyes that could cut through your soul or make you forget your name. But this, a meeting at his house, my pulse raced with a mix of dread and something I didn't dare name. The next day, I drove through Long Island's winding roads, my beat-up Honda rattling against the backdrop of mansions and manicured lawns. Nathan's estate loomed ahead, all glass and cedar, perched on a cliff overlooking a lake that shimmered like liquid gold in the late afternoon sun. I parked, adjusted my tie, and muttered a pep talk to myself. Just a work meeting, Ethan. Don't screw this up. The door swung open before I could knock. Nathan stood there, no suit, just a fitted white shirt and jeans that hugged his frame in ways I tried not to notice. "You're early," he said, his voice low, almost teasing. "Good." He stepped aside, and I walked into a house that screamed wealth. Marble floors, modern art, and floor-to-ceiling windows framing the lake outside. "Coffee?" "Whiskey," he offered, leading me to a sleek office with a view that could steal your breath. I opted for coffee, needing to keep my head clear. We sat across from each other at a mahogany desk, diving into campaign pitches for a new client. But something was off. Nathan's gaze lingered too long, his questions too personal. "You ever think about what you're running from, Ethan?" he asked, out of nowhere, leaning back in his chair. I froze, my coffee cup halfway to my lips. "Running from?" I echoed, forcing a laugh. "I'm just trying to keep up with you." He didn't smile. "You're good at hiding. But I see you." His words hung heavy, like a storm cloud ready to break. I wanted to bolt, but my legs wouldn't move. Instead, I deflected, rattling off stats about the client's target demographic. Nathan listened, but his eyes never left mine, and I felt the air between us crackle with something dangerous. As the sun dipped lower, he suggested we move to the deck for fresh air. I followed, clutching my notebook like a lifeline. The lake stretched out before us, calm and endless, and Nathan leaned against the railing, closer than he needed to be. "You're not like the others," he said softly. "You don't just follow orders. You think. You feel." My throat tightened. I'd spent years burying that part of myself, the part that felt too much, wanted too much. Growing up in a small Ohio town, I'd learned early that being a gay man wasn't something you shouted from the rooftops. I'd moved to New York to escape the whispers and the shame, but here was Nathan, peeling back layers I'd fought to keep hidden. "I'm just doing my job," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "Are you?" He turned to face me, his expression unreadable. "Or are you scared to do more?" The question hit like a freight train. I wanted to tell him he was wrong, that I wasn't scared, that I didn't lie awake at night wondering what it would be like to stop pretending. But the truth was I was terrified, not just of him, but of the heat building in my chest, the pull I felt every time he was near. Before I could answer, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, his jaw tightening. "Client's calling. We'll pick this up later." He walked back inside, leaving me on the deck with my heart pounding and a lake reflecting a sky that felt too big, too open for the secrets I was carrying. I didn't know it then, but that moment was the spark that would set everything ablaze. The days after that meeting were a blur of tension and avoidance. Back at the office, Nathan acted like nothing had happened. No lingering looks, no cryptic questions. But I couldn't shake the memory of his words on that deck, the way they'd cracked open something inside me I'd kept locked away for years. I threw myself into work, hoping to drown out the noise in my head. Our new campaign was a beast, demanding late nights and endless revisions. Nathan was relentless, pushing the team to the brink, but I noticed he lingered near my desk more often, his feedback sharper, yet strangely intimate. "You're holding back, Ethan," he'd say, his voice low enough that only I could hear. "Stop playing it safe." I wanted to snap that I wasn't playing anything, that I was just trying to survive in a world that didn't always make room for people like me. But I bit my tongue, because admitting that would mean admitting I'd noticed the way his hand brushed mine during a meeting, or how his laugh softened when it was just the two of us grabbing coffee. One evening, as the office emptied out, Nathan called me into his corner suite. The Manhattan skyline glittered through the windows, a stark contrast to the cluttered desk between us. "We need to talk," he said, closing the door. My stomach dropped. "About the campaign?" I asked, hoping to keep things professional. "No." He stepped closer, his presence filling the room. "About you. About us." I laughed, nervous and sharp. "Us? There's no us, Nathan. You're my boss." "Am I?" His eyes searched mine, and I hated how exposed I felt, because it doesn't feel that way when you look at me. My breath caught. He wasn't wrong. I'd spent months convincing myself the spark I felt was one-sided, a stupid crush I could bury under deadlines and ambition. But here he was calling it out, daring me to face it. "I don't know what you want from me," I said, my voice shaking. "I'm just trying to do my job." He moved closer, close enough that I could smell his cologne, feel the heat radiating from him. "I want you to stop hiding. I see the way you hold yourself back, Ethan. You're brilliant, but you're scared. And I get it. I've been there." His words hit too close to home. I'd grown up in a family where different was a dirty word, where I'd learned to keep my head down and my heart locked away. Nathan, with his polished life and perfect confidence, couldn't possibly understand that. Could he? "I'm not like you," I said, stepping back. "You've got everything figured out. I'm just me." He reached out, his hand grazing my arm, and I froze. "You think I've got it all figured out?" His voice was raw, unguarded. "I spent years pretending to be someone I'm not. For my family, for this company. I'm done with that. And I think you are too." I wanted to believe him, to let myself fall into the possibility of what he was offering. But fear clawed at me, whispering all the ways this could go wrong. He was my boss. He was Nathan Caldwell, untouchable and out of my league. And yet, the way he looked at me made me feel like I was the only person in the world. Before I could respond, the door swung open. Sarah, our project manager, stood there, her eyes narrowing as she took in the scene. "Am I interrupting?" she asked, her tone clipped. Nathan stepped back, his mask slipping back into place. "Not at all. Ethan, we'll finish this later." I nodded, my heart racing as I brushed past Sarah and out of the office. The air felt thick with unspoken questions, and I knew she'd seen something. Maybe not everything, but enough to start rumors. As I rode the elevator down, my mind spun. Nathan had cracked open a door I kept locked for years, but stepping through it could cost me everything. The office buzzed with whispers the next day. I felt eyes on me, conversations halting when I walked by. Sarah's interruption had lit a match, and the rumors were spreading like wildfire. By noon, I overheard a colleague murmur, "Ethan and Nathan? Didn't see that coming." My stomach churned. I wasn't ready for this. Not for the scrutiny, not for the judgment. I avoided Nathan all morning, burying myself in spreadsheets and client emails. But he found me at lunch, cornering me in the break room. "We need to talk," he said, his voice low but urgent. "There's nothing to talk about," I snapped, glancing around to make sure we were alone. "People are already talking. This is exactly what I was afraid of." "Let them talk," he said, unfazed. "I don't care what they think." "Easy for you to say." I shot back. "You're the boss. They're not going to fire you. I'm the one who's expendable." His jaw tightened. "You're not expendable. Not to me." The words hit harder than I expected, stirring something deep and dangerous. I wanted to believe him, but years of self-preservation screamed at me to run. "You don't get it, Nathan. I've spent my whole life hiding who I am. I can't just flip a switch because you want me to." He stepped closer, his voice softening. "I'm not asking you to flip a switch. I'm asking you to trust me." Trust. The word felt like a knife. I trusted people before, friends, family, and ended up burned every time. But Nathan's eyes held something I hadn't seen in anyone else, a quiet, fierce determination, like he was ready to fight for this, for us. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from my sister, Emily, back in Ohio. "Mom's asking about you. She knows you're not telling her something." My heart sank. I hadn't come out to my family, hadn't even hinted at it. The idea of them finding out now, through office gossip or some cruel twist of fate, made me feel like the walls were closing in. That night, Nathan texted me, "Come to my place. No work, just us." I stared at the message for an hour, my thumb hovering over the reply button. Every rational part of me screamed to say no, to protect myself. But my heart, that traitor, had other plans. I drove to the Hamptons again, the lake shimmering under a full moon. Nathan was waiting on the dock, a bottle of wine and 2 glasses beside him. "No pressure," he said as I approached. "Just talk." We sat, the silence between us heavy but not uncomfortable. He told me about his own past, growing up in a family that expected perfection, marrying a woman he didn't love to keep up appearances, divorcing her when he couldn't live the lie anymore. "I lost a lot," he said, staring at the water. "But I gained myself." His honesty broke something in me. I told him about Ohio, about the kid who learned to keep quiet to survive, about the nights I'd spent dreaming of a life where I didn't have to hide. The words poured out, raw and unfiltered, and Nathan listened, his hand resting close to mine. When I finished, he reached for my hand, his touch warm and steady. "You don't have to do this alone anymore," he said. I wanted to kiss him then, to let go of the fear and fall into whatever this was. But the weight of the world, my family, the office, my own doubts, held me back. Instead, I squeezed his hand and said, "I need time." He nodded, his eyes soft but resolute. "I'll wait." As I drove home, the moonlit lake fading in my rearview mirror, I felt the first stirrings of something new. Not just hope, but courage. The next week was a tightrope walk. At work, the rumors grew louder, and I caught Sarah's sharp glances more than once. I kept my head down, focusing on the campaign, but Nathan's presence was a constant pull. He didn't push, didn't crowd me, but every meeting, every glance felt like a promise. Then came the client presentation. It was our biggest pitch yet, and the entire team was on edge. Nathan and I had worked late nights perfecting it. Our collaboration seamless despite the undercurrent of tension. The morning of the pitch, he pulled me aside. "We've got this," he said, his hand brushing my shoulder. "You've got this." The presentation was a success, the clients practically eating out of our hands. Afterward, the team celebrated at a rooftop bar, champagne flowing and laughter echoing. Nathan and I stood at the edge of the crowd, the city sprawling below us. "You were incredible today," he said, his voice low. "I'm proud of you." My chest tightened. No one had ever said that to me. Not my parents, not my teachers, no one. I looked at him, the city lights reflecting in his eyes, and for a moment, I let myself imagine a world where I could be honest, where I could be his. But reality crashed in. Sarah approached, her smile tight. "Great job, Ethan. You and Nathan make quite the team." The implication in her tone was clear, and I felt the familiar panic rising. That night, I called Emily. I couldn't keep dodging her texts about Mom. "What's going on with you?" she asked, her voice gentle but firm. "You sound different." I took a deep breath and told her. Not everything, but enough about Nathan, about the feelings I've been fighting, about the fear that kept me up at night. She was quiet for a long time before saying, "Ethan, you deserve to be happy, whatever that looks like." Her words were a lifeline, but they didn't erase the dread. The next day, I overheard Sarah talking to HR, her voice low but unmistakable. "It's inappropriate. He's his boss." My blood ran cold. I didn't know if she was talking about me and Nathan, but the fear was enough to make me question everything. I confronted Nathan that evening, storming into his office after hours. "Did you know about Sarah? She's going to HR. This could ruin me." He looked stricken. "I didn't know. I'll handle it." "Handle it?" I laughed bitterly. You can't just fix this, Nathan. This is my life, my career. I told you I wasn't ready. He stepped toward me, his voice steady. I know you're scared. I am too. But I'm not going to let this destroy you. Or us. There is no us. I shouted, the words tearing out of me. This was a mistake. His face fell, but he didn't argue. If that's what you believe, I won't push you. But I'm not giving up on you, Ethan. I left his office, my heart in pieces. I thought walking away would protect me, but all it did was leave me hollow. That night, I sat in my apartment, staring at the walls, wondering if I'd just thrown away the one thing that could make me whole. The days that followed were a fog of regret and self-doubt. I avoided Nathan, taking sick days and working from home to dodge the office. But the rumors didn't stop, and neither did my thoughts of him. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face on that dock, heard his voice promising to wait. Emily called again, her tone urgent. Mom knows, Ethan. Someone from your office called her. My heart stopped. I hadn't planned to come out to my family. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But the choice had been taken for me. I drove to Ohio that weekend, my hands shaking on the wheel. My parents' house hadn't changed. Same creaky porch, same faded curtains, but the air felt heavier. Mom greeted me with a tight hug, her eyes searching. Is it true? She asked, her voice trembling. I nodded, unable to speak. To my surprise, she didn't yell or turn away. She cried, but then she said, I just want you to be happy, Ethan. I wish you'd told me. It wasn't absolution, but it was a start. For the first time, I felt like I could breathe in that house. When I got back to New York, I knew what I had to do. I went to Nathan's house unannounced, the lake glowing under a starry sky. He opened the door, surprise flickering across his face. Ethan, I was wrong, I said, my voice steady despite the fear. I thought pushing you away would protect me, but it just made me miserable. I don't want to hide anymore. Not from you, not from anyone. He stepped closer, his eyes searching mine. Are you sure? I nodded, and then I kissed him. It was tentative at first, then fierce, like every pent-up emotion I'd buried was pouring out. He kissed me back, his hands steady on my waist, and for the first time, I felt like I was exactly where I belonged. The next day, Nathan went to HR himself, disclosing our relationship to preempt any accusations. It wasn't easy. There were meetings, whispers, and a formal warning about workplace boundaries. But Nathan fought for me, for us, and I realized that was worth more than any job. We took it slow, building something real beyond the office walls. The lake became our place where we'd sit and talk about the future, about a world where we didn't have to hide. It wasn't perfect. There were still doubts, still fears, but it was ours. One evening, as we sat on the dock, Nathan took my hand. You changed everything, he said, his voice soft. You made me believe in this. I smiled, the weight of years lifting. You did the same for me. The lake stretched out before us, reflecting a sky full of stars. It wasn't the end of our story, but it was a beginning, one built on courage, love, and the truth we'd both fought to claim.